Okay.
Welcome you again. You're welcome. Thank you once again for tuning in to the part two.
Part three.
Part three. Okay, sorry. Thank you for the part three of the how the love started. And I think it's my husband that is opening the floor for us.
Okay.
for us.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of this. Um, just 1 minute. I just want to quickly ensure that, if possible, we can reach as much people as possible. Okay. All right. So we started looking at how we started, our journey of love, relationship, marriage, friendship, courtship, and all that. And we started the previous, the first series, that's the part one, where we laid the foundation to make it clear as to why people, go into relationships. We understand that people go into relationships for different purposes and reasons, and it will be deception, self-deception, or relationship deception to make yourself believe or to make other people believe that there was no reason for you deciding to go into that relationship or a reason for your choice of the kind of person you wanted to relate with. Everyone has got a reason. Um, and that's why it's important for us to check these informations out, analyze these reasons, and see where it stands in the perfect will of God, so that when we make decisions or when we stay in our decisions, we would not, for example, for those who have not made that decision already to be in marriage relationship or whatever form of relationship, will be informed and empowered on how to rightly divide, the different reasons that play in their mind when it comes to making a choice. And for those who have made a relationship decision, it helps you maintain your position, because you will always find experiences, you will always see things or have issues or experiences in your relationship that challenges your reason, or challenge, well, you will be in situations where your marriage or your relationship will be challenged. It is those reasons that give stability to your relationship. We're in the current, in this current world, in our current generation, we have so much marital challenges everywhere, relationship breakdowns and the likes of them. Relationship with prospects started, then it ended just, while it is starting, or some of them just ended abruptly. And that does not say that relationship does not work. Relationship works, because there are people who've been in relationship, good, solid, godly relationship for many, many years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. So if that's possible for some, then it's also possible for all. So we would share with you our own experiences and how we got where we are. And if you're on the right direction, you definitely get to your destination. So I have no doubt, by the grace of God, that we're making progress, and definitely we would get to that destination. We'll get there. One would say, oh, it's 40 years now in marriage, it's 50 years now in marriage, by the grace of God.
Yes,
So
please.
my wife had shared her experience in the part two. You can go ahead and listen to how our explanation, our own expression of how we met,
In summary.
aside of the story, in summary. So I started sharing with you my side of the story, how we met. And like I said before, every man or woman will always have multiple choices, or let me say, multiple options when it comes to making relationship. Let me check what's going on there. When it comes to making relationship choices. So everyone will always have choices, but there must be the right choice, and you cannot afford to make a lifetime decision on a very faulty assumption. And so that's why we gave you this reason. So you don't, I mean, we said, for example, people get married for business purposes, for social reasons, for economic reasons, for, religious reasons. And you can check the part one and part two to have a glimpse into that. Okay, so I'm going to give summary of how we started, then share some principles with you, and then maybe some other points then you can then from here go further and make your own decision. Okay, so um, from where I stopped in part two, so I mean, after my friend came to me and said to me that Joshua, you need to really start thinking about your relationship, marital relationship, because of the way you are, your role on campus, I mean, and your relationship with people. People are coming in all in the name of counseling, mentorship, pastoring, and all that. So many of them were also of the opposite sex. And he said, in order for you to, stay safe, just think about it. So I said to him, I said, I will definitely take some time in the coming week to seek the face of God and pray to God about my marital destiny. So I took 3 days out. The first 2 days, I ensured that my mind was clear of any presumption, assumption, intentions or whatever. The Bible says the preparation of the heart belongs to man, but the answer of the tongue belongs to God. So you must prepare your heart if you're ever going to receive from God. You must never put yourself in the place of asking and the one answering. You must be genuinely interested in asking the Lord and in finding the right answers. So now on the third day, I remember I was lying down on the ground and I was just thanking the Lord and worshiping him. And the Lord said to me that my wife, she is my wife. I said, God, this is it. I don't even have any emotional relationship with this lady. There is no connection. I saw a lot of things. And while I was lying down, the Lord gave me three reasons why it was so. So the first reason he gave to me was associated with an experience I had with her in the past while we were on campus, some of the things that happened. And so he connected that reason to something significant in my life and future. He gave another reason connected to the experience we had while I took them for a conference and how that connects to my destiny. And he gave another third reason. The moment the Lord gave that third reason and I could see it, I just said to him, Lord, I accept. The moment I accepted it, there was a connection between the love that God has put in my heart for her and my reasons and the reason he has given to me. And those connections was what stirred up my conviction and formed the basis of my emotions. So from that moment, I started to see her from the way I should have seen her before, which was not possible because until I seek the face of God, I couldn't have seen her that way. I started seeing her with those reasons the Lord gave me, and then begin to see her from who she really is, not from my own premeditated or premeditated reasons. And that brushed off every negative emotion and set that love in motion. And to be honest, and without any doubt, if it was not true, this we're already 8 years in marriage, we will have known it. I mean, I love my wife with the whole of my heart, and she knows that. So that love that God shared in my heart for her was solidified. It has always been there from the day I started speaking to the Lord, but it was the reasons that gave expression to that love. And that's why I said love gives expression to reason. You cannot afford to love without a reason, you know. And to love without a reason simply means that you allow your emotions take over the stage, takes over the process without giving yourself a reason to feel why you feel or trying to understand why you felt or feel the way you feel. You see someone, oh, you just love someone who is tall, who is short, who is slim, and all that. You must ask yourself, number one, is this the basis for my decision? Number two, why am I making this the requirements for my decision? What is the implication of these parameters? Why am I particular about someone who is short, or someone who is tall, or someone who is dark? Could it be because of my immature perspective about things, or about my own background, my experiences. And if you have that at the back of your mind, you can easily analyze why you feel it, because some of the reasons or the parameters you may be setting forth may be sufficient for a moment, but may not last beyond a particular season. For example, when it comes to making decisions in a home, or taking the lead, or putting order in the family, height, size, or shape does not play any part. A tall man may make a stupid decision on behalf of the family. A short man may make a better decision, because height does not play any factor in decision making. That's one example. Number two, you want to look at slim or fat because of your own reasons. Maybe someone who is fat or tall, do you consider, maybe, do you even consider their health implications? Oh, you like someone who is tall. Okay, have you considered what's the advantage? So many reasons, but you must ensure that your reasons are based on the right parameters. And I'm going to share some things with you going forward from where um, we stopped the last time, and then after that, then share some principles and some steps, and maybe some points with you, and that could help you a great deal. And that's why I said the most critical aspect of this is to marry without a reason. And I said love is embedded in reason. Love is expressed in reason. Without a reason, love cannot be expressed. It is reasons that gives expression to love. And for someone to love, they must have an undertone. There must be something about that love, which is the reason why they feel the way they feel, or they love the way they love. Now, we said before that love is not a feeling. Love expresses itself in feelings. Love gives voice to itself in feelings. Love can express itself in your feelings, but your feelings is not it's not the indication of your love, because also your without love, feelings can be stirred up based on reasons. If you take away love from a particular relationship, it is possible that that person could still have some sense of feeling. You can go upstairs and tell her to come back later. You know, without love, if you take away love, there might still be some emotional expressions, but it will be based on some other factors that is not based on love. But like I said, love is not a definition of what, of who, of how, or something. Love is a person. Love is a nature, and that nature is the nature of God. And God gives it as a gift to everyone who asks for it, or everyone who qualifies for it, by their personal relationship with Him, and also by the and as a gift for whatever relationship they'll be going into. Okay, so no one can marry without a reason, and that's why the Bible says, "He that findeth a wife finds a good thing." So a man will find something for a reason. And the Bible says, "A man shall leave his father and his mother, and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." So it is not possible to leave what is good for what is bad. So that's process of seeking for something, is embedded in a reason. There's something he must know what he's looking for, and he knows. You can't be searching for what you can't identify, or you can't be searching for something you don't know, or something you don't have an idea of. So, for example, when I was looking for a relationship, I was looking for something in that particular lady. I had something I was looking for, though that then became secondary when God, gave me His own reasons why that was my choice, which was true, because it superseded my own personal intentions and reasons, and it also complemented my reasons. So, but it is not possible to search for something without a reason. Okay, so again, you must also understand that reasons must follow love, Else love will be without reason. Reason must follow love. Someone comes to you and says to you, I love you. What's your reason? Why do you say you love me? Oh, I just love you because of the way you look. That's not sufficient enough to go into marriage or to go into a relationship, because that reason is fickle. It's like a flower that fades. Someone comes to you and says, I love you. And you ask them, why do you say you love me? Or why? I just love you. If there is no reason, you must understand that that's a fraud, because everyone has a reason. Love is embedded in reason. It's either they don't want to disclose that reason because that reason benefits them and endangers you. For example, it could be sexual reason, sexual pleasure. They just like your physical construction. They like your outlook, and they're already infatuating about how to have a sexual pleasure with you. So that's the only reason why they're making that sacrifice. They like the way your shape is, they like all that. But they can't articulate that to you because they know that if that's the only reason why they came to you, then it's not they it's for to your own, I mean, to your own loss. So sometimes people try to hide their reasons in um, other alternative expressions, like in gifts, in services. But you must be someone who rises above a gift, who rises above services, so as not to allow those gifts and services becloud your sense of judgment and overlook the motive behind their actions.
Even care, showing care.
Showing care. Because some of these things, factors, care, gifts. In fact, the Bible said in Proverbs, the Bible says that a gift can cover a lot, can divert just judgments. A gift can change the course of a judgment. In Proverbs, a bribe can alter judgments. So, because sometimes people don't want to articulate their reasons, because the reasons benefit them and does not benefit you, what they do is that they use an alternative measure, such as gifts, care, attention, to cover up for the lack of communication or lack of articulation of their. But you must not allow that be the basis. My wife knows. There was a time when we're courting, an issue happened, and I wanted that issue to be resolved. I wanted an answer. So when she came and I mentioned that issue, I think she didn't. I can't really recall, but what happened was that she brought food, she brought money, and I was really in need of money at that time. And she brought money, she brought it. And I said, okay, put that money down. Let's on this issue. And we wanted to start focusing on the food and money. I just gave her that money back. Take your money, take your food. I just said, I don't need it. This is the main issue we're talking about here. We need to deal with this issue. That gave her a sense of, it's not, you can't buy, people buy affections with love, with money, but you can't buy love with money. So don't sell your affections for money, because you have only cheated yourself, because it is not a sign of love. So
when you finally get married,
that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, when you settle down with people like that, the real reason why they wanted to have you in their life would become the basis of their decision making. For example, if why they wanted you was for sex, the moment they've had sex with you on a couple of times, they lose taste. And because of that, they lose interest in you. So they then look for an excuse or a reason, an alternative reason, to make you responsible for how they feel, the way they feel about you, why that relationship is not working, why you are no longer the perfect person, why, in quotes, you're not even the will of God for them, because they have satisfied their reasons, but their reasons are not sufficient enough to sustain that relationship. So it's either they exit that relationship, or they make it uncomfortable for you to remain, or they look for an alternative way to service their reasons.
And that is where abuse comes in.
And that's where abuse comes in. And that's why I say this with all my heart to every young person, everyone who has not made a marital decision. You need to articulate don't people say love is blind, but you need to open your eyes. You need to be very, very articulate. You need to be clear. You need to be, don't be assumptuous. Don't make assumption about what you think. Someone may look gentle or quiet, does not mean that they are. Someone may look innocent, does not mean they are. You need to be very, very intentional about finding out what the motives are for that relationship. And also, as every other person, you need to also find out the reason why the other party wants to be involved with you in destiny. It is possible to deal with those issues early enough if you identify it. But if you don't, it could be very disastrous. We're going to take a bit more time today just to deal with this issue. Some few years ago, I was pastoring a church, and a lady who I know very well was she was going to get married to a particular guy. So I called her for an interview and discussing with her, counseling her. It was while I was counseling her that I started finding out some things in my spirit. So already the guy was really rushing that relationship, wanting them to settle down on time. So I had it in my heart to tell her to delay that wedding or that really ceremony. So by the time I was telling her, they had already started. They've chosen the date. They've agreed. Both families have agreed for traditional wedding and all that. I think they've even started printing out some things, but they started making plans. But I said to her, I said, something in me is saying to you to hold on. I'm not saying that's not the man for you, but I want you to hold on. There are still some reasons we need to identify some points, some reasons, critical issues. So to cut the long story short, it was later on during my investigation and interrogation with her, and by the help of the Spirit of God, that I discovered that the reason why that guy wanted to get married to her was because, number one, he felt he was getting old. He was the only child of his mother. He came from about this marriage polygamous family. So every other child had given birth, if the mom wants to prove that she's not the only one. So she wanted to get married. He wanted to get married because he wanted a child to make the mother happy. That's the only reason. But the lady did not know. She felt, oh, this guy is in love with me, he buys things for me and all that. At the end of the day, I had to let the guy come in. This is what we later found out, but this is the process. So when the guy came in and I discussed with him about what's your reasons for this relation, and I delved into practical issues, point blank, clear cuts, counseling, no sentiment, no emotional abuse. And it was clear to me, he said, Pastor, I want to marry because I need a child. But what if you don't have a child? What would you do? He said to me point blank, he said, I will not divorce her, but I will have to sleep with another woman who can give me a child. So at the end of the day, what you find out is that he sleeps with the other lady, he doesn't have a child with her, but he has an emotional tie. Sleeps another one, doesn't have a child. Before you know, he has 5 ladies he's been sleeping with, and then those 5 ladies will not leave his life emotion. Just like that. They will load a stake in his life, and that will corrupt his relationship. Perhaps a marriage is honorable, the bed undefiled. So already that perspective was already faulty. So I discussed when I said, have you told this to your spouse to be? He said, no. I said, you need to tell her these are your reasons. So I called her in. Then we were able to deal with the issue anyway, to cut long story short. And a lot of things were changed, and a lot of advice came in, prayers and all that. And to the glory of God, because I said to myself, what if you get married? This lady doesn't. Because we got married, my wife didn't get conceived just immediately. I said, what if that is the case? So we changed that opinion by the grace of God, and they got married, and to the glory of God, they had their child without stress. So what I'm saying is that if there had been no intervention like I did, that could have affected their relationship, and the lady did not know. So you need to let communication come in, and you need to articulate your reasons and let the other person articulate their reasons. Okay, Maybe I'll share with you how to do that as we go on. So even when God gives you a word about someone, if God tells you this is your wife, this is your husband, He would not do that without a reason. He would give you a reason to do that, to take your decisions. So if anybody tells you God is asking me to choose you as a wife, be free enough, if not on the spot. That's what you should, for example, take some time if you're not certain about the person's integrity and all that, and their level of relationship with God and how they hear God. Because if somebody doesn't hear God, you don't have any testimony that they've been hearing God, you have a responsibility to go and hear God by yourself. Even though they hear God, you still have a responsibility anyway, except you have had that confirmation before that time. So, but in this case, you need to allow them, let it tell you what the Lord has been saying to them, what's their reason, and all that. So, like I said, love is embedded in reason. Don't ever be bought away with the word love or with emotion and not finding out why that emotion is playing its part. So sometimes, if you have a if you have a prejudice about something, the moment you see something around that, it stirs up an emotion in you. For example, if you see a particular if there's some, maybe you see a particular animal or animal, and it's a brutal animal. This animal is very, very brutal. You've heard about it, you've learned about it. What happens is that anytime you think about that animal, even when you sight that animal without that animal being offensive, it stirs up an emotion in you, either to run or to hide or to do anything, but the truth is this: that reaction is triggered by your premeditation or the information you have about that experience before time. Okay, so likewise, people who have certain opinions, whose opinions have been shaped by culture, by life, has been shaped by media, has been shaped by movies, has been shaped by comics, books, different things would come into life with that same expectation, and whenever they see anything that fits into their own you know expectation or so whatever, they accept it as a standard. They see it as something. Yes, this is what I've been waiting for. But someone may look like the lady you saw on TV and not be the same person. You may do your hair like somebody else and you're not the same person. So you need to analyze your reasons. Very important. So and I said that when God leads you to marry someone, He must give you a reason and not just love. And therefore, you must declare your love, you must declare your reasons before marriage. Love will always be there. That's what I want to know. Love is not a feeling. I love my wife, but I am not feeling anything. Feelings are triggered by reasons, by actions. But the love has always been there. For example, your car, if you have a car, the car is always available, but and the engine is working, but it is ignited or set to motion when you kickstart it. But that car has the capacity, it's always there. It's like your electricity. Once you switch off the electricity, current is still circulating in the cables, but it is your switching it on that gives expression to that current. When God gives you a relationship, there will always be love. Love is not emotional, but love can express itself in emotions. But what triggers that love, what expresses that love, is reasons or actions. So your actions can destroy the expression of love, can shut the door to the expressions of love, or it can open the door. The reasons that person has formed can shut their hearts towards receiving or giving the expressions of love, or giving or receiving or expressing love. But love will always express itself when it sees a reason or when it sees an action. So, for example, um, when God puts someone's love in your heart, it's always there. Sometimes it is their um, maybe action. Maybe they just called you and you just said, I love you. You know you in your heart you love them, but by just saying to them, I love you, you are giving expression to that love. And that has a way of impacting onto them, and impacting onto that relationship. But even if you don't say it, it is still there. Very important. Okay.
So, can someone? So someone needs to be careful on the kind of words you use, because it can be a positive side. It can have whether positive or negative on the
Well,
individual.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, communication can have positive or negative influence on the individual. But in any case, when love is at work, it is always positive. It's always positive. I want to get somewhere very quickly. And as I said, I said declare your love and discuss it. And it can be your greatest asset and defense in marriage. Why? Because the reasons that led you to that relationship, that allowed you to accept that relationship, may not change, especially when those reasons are inspired by love. But the feelings may change, the circumstances may change, but if you hold on to those reasons, if you let those reasons, because those reasons are not fickle, and if, like I said, don't let reasons be based on how somebody looks another. If those reasons are inspired by love, you are sure to it is sure to last. And when you focus on it, even when it seems as if your relationship or your marriage, whatever it is not going the way it should go, you must always allow love express itself through those feelings, through those reasons. Maybe by articulating it, maybe by giving action to it. And when you do that, for example, it strengthens your relationship and it builds a defense against, in your relationship against an intruder. Because if your reasons are not based on just how somebody looks, you cannot be carried away by the way someone else looks on the outside, to use that as a basis to get into a relationship with them and all that.
So maybe you should talk more. What are the actions of love?
I mean, it all depends. Love will always have its own specific actions. For
Yeah.
example, the way what triggers my emotions, towards someone may be different from what triggers another person's emotions towards another person. But my emotions to someone else is based on love. And love is not a cheater. You cannot say that you did adultery in love, or because you loved one person, that's why you cheated on your spouse. You must understand that love does not give room for those kind of actions. So already those actions are not based on love. They are based on other things that are not love. The only action that love would give you, for example, are actions that are positive, that inspire you to, edify, that inspire you to also, have a stronger relationship with your partner, with your wife, and all that. Those actions are different for everybody. But there are things, for example, that for me it doesn't matter, but for somebody else it may matter. So with the love of God in you, tailors your actions to based on your relationship. It's like a bespoke approach. It helps you take actions that that suits your own relationship and helps you stay strong in relationship. So, but those actions, are always based on reasons and all that. Like I said before, those reasons is what are the expressions of the love. So very, very important and all that. So and like I said, a man needs a reason to choose a wife and needs love to sustain it. And this other side I'm going to talk about now is the fact that very important. Your life can form a right or wrong reason. And this is what that means. The way you live your life can give people an excuse never to accept the will of God for them. The way you live your life is helping you form a reason. Your life experiences are reasons, for example, that people will look into. Your life generally forms your reasons. What forms reason? Your life experiences. What forms reasons are your life experiences. And I will explain that. Your life gives people a reason to say yes or no. And this is what I mean. Now, if you see, for example, a guy who, for example, has a child with 3 women and has another one in waiting who is already pregnant. The woman is already pregnant, and they are from different places. And those 4 places are claiming a stake in his life. And they're saying to him, you need to settle down with us. And then he met this other lady who he feels is the will of God for her. And he says to her, you know what? I really feel that you are the one that God has chosen for me. And though I have 4 women already who have children for me, and there's another one who is still pregnant, but I still feel you are the one who God has chosen for me. That man's experience, for example, gives that lady a reason to question his conviction. And again, puts her in a position whereby she's not readily available to say yes. She will have to deal with those issues internally. She will have to conquer the fear, the challenge of it, go through so many stumbling blocks before she can ever come to a decision. And sometimes most people don't even come to that place where they can ever agree with that kind of a decision. So though that man may have a genuine intention, but his life has formed reasons that gives an excuse for the other person never to want to go into a relationship with them, or that alters affect the dynamics of that relationship. So your life can form a right or wrong reason. So for example, let's assume you're a man or a woman. While other girls were going to parties and clubs, you focused on your book, your academics, you came out with good grades, you were developing yourself, you were also building yourself in your spiritual life, in your walk with God, and in everything, and you also, for example, not idle, you're busy doing something, whatever you're answering to, you're doing it, you're up and doing, you are readily, available, inspired by God, doing the right thing, right character and all that. When God says, for example, to that man that is your wife, even if God is waiting to give you the go ahead, that man is already watching that nobody else goes before him, because he already knows that lady is a material, she's an asset. She has lived her life in such a way that it gives anybody a reason to want to accept her as a wife. So when you start making choices in life, consider that your choices are going to play part of the reasons why someone will say yes or no. It does not matter to you now, but it will matter to the person it matters to later. Because that person, you cannot hide the fact that there is a past you must talk about. You must be able to deal with. In fact, your life will be put under the proper scope. And you don't want someone to start talking about, oh, you know what, and that one was a mistake. This one was this one was and 50 issues up onto the one that happened last week. It's not as if this has happened in the past and you dealt with those things, you've accepted Christ and you've gone past it, it's still happening fresh. Your life is forming a reason, and that reason would be an excuse for someone to say yes or to say no. Okay, don't forget that. And as I said, live your life in such a way that no man will have an excuse before God to say no, or no man or woman will have an excuse to wait longer or disobey God. Some women or some men would rather choose to disobey God than accept some people as the will of God for them, because they are full of baggages. And that's one of the things the devil does.
So maybe you should throw more light on your um your is it permissive will,
Okay.
the will of God, and maybe what you feel perfect
Okay.
for you.
You know, the Bible says that in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, he said, "Be thou transformed by the union of your mind, that you will know what is the perfect, the good, perfect will of God." So there is the good will. If you focus on Romans 12, 2, there is a perfect will. Don't be someone that people are struggling to accept as God's perfect will for their life because of the way you have formed your life and you have lived your life.
So maybe I should read it from this
Okay, what does it say?
version of the Bible. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect.
So there's a good, there's a pleasing, there's a perfect will of God. So don't forget that it is not God who determines the reasons. You determine the reasons why someone would choose to say yes or no. God determines the gift of love, but you determine the reason. And I will say this very quickly. Sometimes it takes maturity to undo reasons, but it takes spirituality to accept love. Your relationship with God would put a clear-cut decision in your heart that this is the will of God for you. You accept it. But it takes maturity, strength, capacity to deal with the issues that follows. And many times there are people that God has chosen certain people for them. They have accepted it as God's will, but they are not matured enough to ignore or to overlook or to deal with the reasons that that person's life has produced. Maybe their life has produced abortions, this, jail, criminal record, whatever it is. So while that person is accepting God, God, I know, but I can't accept this person. I know this person. I know the way they've lived their life. I know some of the things they have gone through. So it takes maturity, capacity, and strength to accept reasons, to deal with reasons. And one of the things the enemy is doing, and I will say that very clear to you, is this: is raising men who are spiritually sound, but they are not matured, emotionally matured. They are not spiritually intelligent. They are men who hear God's voice, but they are not skillful. They're not intelligent in their spirituality. And it's raising women, for example, who are very, very maybe intelligent, but they have baggages. So when an immatured man meets a woman of baggage, it becomes difficult to make a decision.
Oh dear.
Even though in the spirit there is a connection. So until that person grows and rises beyond the reasons and sees into the purpose of God for that relationship, they will never accept that other party as a choice for them. And that's one thing the devil is doing. He's trying to make people have so many baggages in their life. Failed relationships, abortions, bad complaints, bad experiences, so that their life is full of so many things, such that, and is raising men who always go to church and spend their time in prayer, but they are not exercising themselves spiritually. They are not stretching themselves beyond the physical. They are not mature. They've not handled critical issues of life. They've not obeyed God. They've not fulfilled the assignments. In fact, the Bible said, for example, that if you want to choose a man to be a pastor or a bishop, before you put him there, go and test him with other things. His capacity must be strengthened. So by the time he becomes a pastor, he has already gained experience. Many times why God takes you to the journey he takes you through as a man or as a woman is because he wants you to see life beyond just the physical. For example, he would take Moses through the wilderness to take him to be with the sheep and the dogs and whatever, to learn perseverance, to learn patience, to learn humility, so that when he deals with people, he can relate with them like that. Even God, in order for him to relate with us, to understand us as human beings, he needed to become like a man. He felt what we felt. He went through what we went through, so that he can identify with us. There are men who, just because a lady has a child, or just because a lady has had a bad experience, they will see that as a reason why they will never be able to say yes to that lady or go with that lady in that relationship. They define,
even God is even telling them,
even though God has told them that that's a lady, they would always use those as their basis. They have prejudice about things. Oh, I want to marry a virgin. I want to marry a lady who is not innocent, and they themselves are not innocent. So, and because the culture and life sets a standard for different people, so they themselves also look at life. You know, some people, like I said, I want to marry someone who is very, very rich and all that, because they've assumed that it's money that solves the problem in marriage. So they don't even care if that person is a drunkard, if he's a bastard, whatever it is, as long as he has money in his pocket. If they don't know how he got that money,
and they will close their eyes to all those
and
things.
close their eyes to other things. So it's very important to, not be carried away by those things. Like I said, you need to analyze your reasons. You need to let your reasons be based on, those parameters we've mentioned, and live your life in such a way that you give people an excuse never to say no. In fact, there are people who would make a choice for people, other people in marriage. They choose, they hear, they are the ones who confirm God speaking to them by themselves. They say, that lady, God told me that you are the person that God is going to give to me and all that, even though they know that that's not God speaking, because that lady has so much made up herself. She has so much lived her life in such a way that every man has a reason to want to say yes to her, except the fact that she wants to wait for the will of God. She is every man's dream. And there are other ladies that, though they've had, they've been strategically positioned, maybe in their career, in their personal life and all that, even in beauty, they have the looks, but they don't have the reasons that makes a man want to say, you are my choice. They have the physical structure, their body, they're so primed and all that. They have the looks, they are so pretty and beautiful. They have maybe a good job, they have everything, but the reasons that accompany their life is an excuse for the person to say no, number one, for a person to say, to wait longer, to disobey God. And that's why you must, from this moment, begin to live your life with a positive reason. Live your life in such a way that nobody has an excuse to ignore you. Live your life in such a way that you have a curriculum of positive reasons. And when you bring those reasons before the table, God can even have a reason to present to people. God will have a reason. I told you before when we started that God gave me 3 reasons why he wanted me to, that portrays just a picture of who my wife really is in the spirit. If she missed those 3 opportunities that God gave her, what reason would God give to me as a reason for her? She may have done some things in the past that were good. I may not be, I'm not in her past. But God wanted to relate her life with something that I can identify with. So if you are continuously living your life in such a way that it's rebelling and rejecting the purpose of God, it will give people a reason to disobey God, or to wait longer, or to say no. Very important. And I said, when reasons are formed, decisions can be positive or negative. So when a person sits down and looks at all the reasons why she go into that relationship, it can either make a positive choice or make a negative choice and say yes or no. Okay? And like I said again, negative or positive reasons can influence the decision of any person. It can delay or distract or even divert or attract decisions. So when a person looks at the reasons, he is either compelled or repelled. Compelled to make a decision, or he's just repelled. After all these things you've said, I'm not interested. Some men would rather remain single than choose what God has given to them because of the reasons that accompany that person's life. Okay, very important.
And they're not matured enough to
overlook or undo those experiences. So sometimes some ladies are saying, "Oh God, give me a man now," and God is preparing that man to handle the reasons why he must wait with you. And don't be in a rush, because you need a man who is strong, a man who can handle your past and will not, at the slightest notice of what you have been through, walk away or choose somebody else who has a better, in quote, past.
For better, for worst.
Yeah,
for worse, for good.
So apart from the fact that you need a man who loves you, or you need a woman who loves you, you also need a man or woman who have the capacity to relate with your life, the reasons that your life produce. Very important. Very important. There are things about me that nobody knows, that only my wife knows. But would that have influenced a decision if she got to know about it after marriage? If we had not, those reasons had not been known before marriage? No, it all depends. But the reason why she's standing or she's here is because of the capacity, the strength. Likewise, myself. Okay, so very, very important. So like I said, it takes time and repeated events to form a reason. People don't just assess things based on one experience. Sometimes it is what you have done consistently and continuously over time, maybe 1, 2, 3 times, that then determines if that fact, that a matter is a reason to consider. Some people will consider a matter or an issue or an experience that has repeated itself in your life as a basis or a reason to either go on or withdraw. So if there's something right now that you're engaged in that will conflict in the future decisions of people, opinion of people around you, stop it.
Yeah.
Because it will influence things eventually. And there are times when there are things you are doing that may not show off now. You're doing the right thing, nobody is noticing and all that. You've been in the right position, right thoughts and all that. Just keep doing it. Keep being in that situation, in that right state of mind, in that right choice and all that, because it will eventually form a reason for someone or to be more interested in going ahead with you, as long as God permits it. Very important. The Bible says that man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. God didn't just kill Goliath without a reason. He killed Goliath for a reason. And I wrote here, I said, prayer moves the hand of God, but reason moves the heart of men. Prayer moves God to move, but it is reason that moves the heart of men. People look at the reason, why should I? That moves the heart of men. Very important.
Very important.
Prayer is important, and prayer must help you adjust yourself and your life to accommodate reason, either to accommodate the reasons that the life of other people produce, or accommodate the reasons that God is producing through you, and all that for someone else.
Yeah.
When you go to God in prayer concerning men, you must come back with a reason. And that's why God said, come, let us reason together. God is not just calling you to come and say what you want to say and go. He wants to give you reasons. So those communications are essential discussion platforms for any relationship when we talk. Okay, so well, like we said before, if you have questions, please drop them very quickly. We would look into those questions. I'm going to, by the grace of God, deal with them. In the other parts, I'll share with you some of the principles and points that helps you in this aspect of give me a reason. And hopefully, by the grace of God, you will be tremendously blessed. All right. I'll move on to you, madam.
Thank you very much. Hope you have enjoyed today's broadcast on Give Me a Reason, where the love diary or life history started from. And I want you to know you can't have a a deep-rooted love without having God, who is the author and the originator of true love. That is not based on feelings, it's not based on emotion. The God factor in every relationship or in any friendship or anything on any ship that you want to go into is very, very important. And like my husband said, prayer is very, very crucial in you making the right choices, in you having reason for you to stand in that relationship. Prayer goes a long way. There is nothing too hard or too difficult that prayer cannot solve. And we can even see it in the life of Abraham when he wanted to choose wife for Isaac. He prayed after he called a servant. He prayed, and even the servant even understood the importance of prayer. He said, "I prayed thee," in that Genesis. He said, "I prayed thee." The woman that is going to come out to fresh water like this, like it prayed. So when you pray to God, you are in a great advantage. You will receive signal quickly because it's a communication. You are communicating with your father, and your father wants the best for you. He has seen the future. You may not have been in the future, but God has seen the future. So God is very, very important in any ship that you want to go into: courtship, marriage, relationship, friendship, anything. God is very, very important, and your prayer matters a lot. Your relationship with God matters a lot because He knows the heart of man. You may look at the physical that this lady, this guy is beautiful, is tall, is fair, but you don't know the intent of man. There's a lot of stories out there. But for you to be safe, for you to be safe, you have to have that God factor in your life. And this is just an opportunity for you to just say, Lord Jesus, come into my heart. Be my Lord, be my Savior. I believe you died for me, and I believe you rose up again for my justification. I accept you as my Lord, and I accept you as my Savior. Thank you for making me your home. And that is just the beginning of you going into what true love is all about. And true love starts with God. And that is just my advice.
So, well, this is what we're sharing with you, and you just have to take your time to meditate on these things we've shared with you. And if this is for you, take it seriously. There's no point beating around the bush. It is for your own good, and so take good advantage of it. Hopefully, in the next part, would go a bit further and also make some things clearer. And one thing that will also assist is that if you have any questions, if you have any comments, just feel free to drop
any
it.
areas that you want to
want
us to throw more light.
You just send it to us, then we would address them appropriately. Also want to use this opportunity to specially invite everyone who is listening right now to the Global Bible class. It's going to hold on the 31st of October 2020.
1 day event.
It's just 1 day, 2 hours. It's just a 2 hour event in a day on a Saturday. Promises to be very explosive and very practical and in depth to help you understand the mystery of godliness, the pathway to righteousness, to holiness, and to peace. These are three keys you need in your life as a foundation for every other thing. So if you want to be a part of that, just go to eventbrite.co.uk and then search for Global Bible Class. Then you follow the other process of
And
registration.
registration is free.
Yeah, it's free. So God bless you.
Amen.
We look forward to seeing you again in the next part.
Amen.
And hopefully we'll be able to go further and deeper and into this. Take a
Yeah,
lesson from these
different
things,
topics
and
that
the Lord
needs to.
will help you and help us all in Jesus. Have a good day.
Amen.
God bless you. Shalom.
Amen. Bye.